Hey everybody, so this is, e-learning practice. Yesterday we spent the entire class looking at really the basic beliefs of Judaism, and specifically we focused in on the Ten Commandments that were given to Moses after he had led the Jews out of Egypt, and they were going back to the quote-unquote Holy Land, which is modern-day Israel. So today, we're going to be diving deeper into the Jewish religion, and we're going to try to unpack the religion more so you understand, basically, more about the religion, okay? So we're going to do that, and then when we are done with our notes section, you will have an assignment that will go along with a reading. Okay, so it should be pretty self-explanatory. So let's go ahead and let's talk about Judaism 101. So some of this we've already talked about. All right, and the first thing in Judaism that you have to understand is monotheism. All right, so Judaism, it is the first and it's the oldest of the three great monotheistic faiths. Okay. And the basic laws and tenets of Judaism are derived from the Torah, which are the first 5 books of the Christian Bible. Now, the most important teaching and really tenet of Judaism is that there is one God. Okay, He is eternal, and He wants all people to do what is just and merciful. Okay, so let's break this down. All right, let's break this monotheism down a little bit more. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand. God exists, okay, according to Jews. There's only one God. There are no other gods, okay. God cannot be subdivided into different persons, all right, which is unlike the Christian view of God. Jews should worship only the one God, okay. Now, they also believe that God is transcendent. So what that means is God is above and beyond all earthly things. God doesn't have a body, and He helped create the universe without help. God is omnipresent. He's everywhere all the time. He's omnipotent. If I can say this right, God is omnipotent. Excuse me. That just means that God can do anything at all. He's beyond time. He's always existed, and He always will exist. God is just, but He's also merciful. He punishes the bad, rewards the good. Is forgiving towards those who mess up. He's personal and accessible, and He's interested in each and every individual. All right, so our next main part for Judaism 101, and we've already discussed this as well, and that is sacred writings. Okay, so the most important Jewish religion or religious text is in the Bible itself. We already know that. It's the first 5 chapters of the Bible, known as the Torah, which was written, we believe, by Moses. All right, so our next main thing we need to know for Judaism 101 is religious life. Okay, so much of Jewish religious life is centered in the home, and this includes daily prayers, which are said 3 times each day, in the morning, afternoon, and after sunset. Congregational prayers usually take place in a synagogue, maybe a Jewish house, or which is a Jewish house of prayer and study. And this takes place on Mondays, Thursdays, the Sabbath, and during festivals and holy days. And the synagogue service includes readings in Hebrew from different sacred texts, including the Torah. All right, now the synagogue service can be led by any knowledgeable member of the congregation. And in most synagogues, this function is performed by a rabbi, which is an ordained religious teacher. Okay. Now, among his professional duties, a rabbi is expected to conduct weekly or even daily study sessions for members of the congregation. The rabbi can also be called upon to give informed decisions concerning application of Jewish religious law and tradition to daily life. Okay. All right, let's look at our next Jewish Judaism 101 thing that we need to understand, and that is the bar and bat mitzvah. Okay, so when a Jewish girl is 12 and a Jewish boy is 13, they quote unquote come of age in terms of their religious duties and responsibilities. Basically, what we're saying in the bar and bat mitzvah is you are no longer a child, you are entering the world of adulthood. Okay. Now, on this occasion, for the bar mitzvah, the boy is called for the first time. He's called up to read the Torah portion, and you can see there's a picture of that taking place on our slides. Okay. And then in congregations where women participate in conducting the service, during the bat mitzvah, girls are also called upon to read from the Torah, as well as what was going on here with the bar mitzvah. Okay. All right, let's keep moving on with Judaism 101. So our next thing we need to understand are dietary laws that all Jews must abide by. Okay. So traditional Jews observe the dietary laws derived from the book of Leviticus. Okay. Now these laws include certain prohibitions against the eating of meat and dairy products at the same meal. Okay, so I personally like to have a glass of milk when I have steak. If I was Jewish, I would not be able to do that. Okay, they also believe in the humane ritual slaughter of animals and total prohibition of eating any type of blood, any type of pork, shellfish, and then there are a bunch of other types of foods and rules that they just can't eat. Okay, now, though the dietary laws might have a health benefit, the primary motive seems to really be a desire to instill morality, self-control in their personal lives. Okay, and people are expected to observe the laws of the Torah even in the worst of circumstances. All right. However, in all this, in all matters of Jewish religious law and custom, the degree and manner of observance varies depending where you're at. Okay, but for the most part, Jews live on what is called a kosher diet. Okay, all right. Let's talk about our next major piece for Judaism 101, and that has to do with festivals. Now, I have mentioned the Sabbath before, but we need to understand what exactly that is. So every week, religious Jews observe what's known as the Sabbath, and that's considered the Jewish holy day of the week. And the Sabbath, it begins at nightfall on Friday, and it lasts until nightfall on Saturday. So the reason why Jews practice this is it's a reminder of the covenant, which is the part of the deal between God and the Jewish people. And so in it, they're celebrating as a reminder of that agreement. And it's just an occasion to rejoice in the promises that God has kept for the Jewish people. Okay, so most Jewish people look forward to Sabbath all week. They see it as God's gift to His chosen people. And really, they take the time to really focus on God and not do anything else. It's a time with no television, no rushing to demands, on your phone. You do not work. You try not to focus on things going on that are stressful, and it's supposed to be a time of just stillness in life. Okay. All right, so some other festivals that we need to know. We have Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. And then there are three major festivals within Judaism that are all biblically ordained. So the first one is called Passover. Now, Passover celebrates the Exodus from Egypt, which, if you remember from yesterday, that's where Moses took the enslaved Israelites and they left Egypt, and they were headed toward Israel, the Promised Land. Okay. Now, the next major festival is called Pentecost, which that just commemorates when God gave Moses the 10 Commandments. And then the last major festival is Tabernacles, which commemorates when the Jews were in the wilderness, so to speak, and they were walking from Egypt to Israel. Okay, it took them about 40 years. All right. Another major festival, and you can see it right here. This here, if we're in Jerusalem, this is called the Western Wall. Now, the Western Wall is probably the holiest site in all of Judaism, and the reason why it is so sacred, and it's also called the Wailing Wall, I need to mention that, but the reason why it's so sacred is that it is the only remains of the second temple of Jerusalem, okay, which the Romans destroyed in 70 A.D., okay. Alright guys, that is all for our Judaism 101. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. I guess for this quote-unquote e-learning, since I am technically around, if you don't understand something or you want to understand something a little bit more, you can just raise your hand and ask, and I'd be happy to help. But once you have finished answering the questions for the notes for this section, you can move on to the next section where you're going to be focusing in on some of the things that we talked about today and some of the things that we looked at yesterday. Alright guys, see ya.